Hello there, what is going on guys? This is Kez Plays, and today we're going to be talking you through my new and upcoming gaming PC build. So for this build, I will list all the specs in just a few moments, but first I just wanted to talk through the reasons why I'm going to be building a new PC. Main reason being, it just can't handle the games currently, and it also can't keep up with the recording. I don't know if you've noticed, but the last few episodes of The Forest that I've uploaded, the audio has been slightly bad in different places, but I've managed to sort that out with editing, but it just isn't enough, and I think it's time to say goodbye to the old PC. So guys, just before we get into my new build, I'm going to be talking you through the specs on my current PC. So all of these specs are really outdated, and you will see why I'm building a new PC in just a moment. So for the processor, we are running an AMD FX 6350, which is a 6-core processor. Back in the day, these were fairly sort of mid-range. I wouldn't even say mid-range, they've had quite a few bad reviews. I've not had any issues with it, but recently it's been slowing down quite a lot. I don't know if that's due to age and it overheating sometimes and leaving it on for long periods of time. I don't know a lot about computers, but I know obviously heat and leaving things on for too long can damage components. So yeah, the processor needs to go. As for the graphics card, we currently have an R9 270X. This is a 2GB graphics card, and it's enough if you're playing really sort of low performing games, but with current games and with me wanting to record more gameplay, it really isn't ideal. And finally on the list, we have 8GB of RAM. Now this is the last thing that I'm going to mention on my current build, as it's not really relevant, and I'm sure you guys want to hear my new build rather than my current one. I think it's 8GB of Kingston RAM. I'm not sure on the speed, but I know it's DDR3 and it's not quick enough for me at the minute. I'm doing obviously so many different tasks at once. I'm doing graphics design, I'm also doing video editing, streaming the web at the same time, and it just can't handle all of it. So for the new build, we will be starting out with the processor again. For the new processor, we are going to be going for the AMD Ryzen 5 3600, which is a 6-core 12-thread processor, and I think the max clock on it is 4.2 GHz. I probably won't be clocking it to that just because of obviously the lifespan of the processor, and I don't really know what I'm doing with computers, but I know for what I want to do, this processor does the job, and in the price range you really can't beat it. There's no Intel processors that'll really come close, and AMD are killing the processor game in the minute with their new Ryzen range. So yeah, I think this is going to be the best option for me. Now for the part that everybody's been waiting for on this list, it is the graphics card. Now drum roll please. We are going to be going with the Gigabyte GeForce GTX 1660 Super 6GB graphics card. I know that's a lot to take in, and I also know if you know a little bit about computers, you'll know what I'm talking about. So this graphics card has GDDR6 memory, whereas the standard 1660 only has GDDR5. Now I've had a look at some comparisons on YouTube, and for the price difference, which is just £20 in the UK between the two cards, the FPS range, or the difference between the two cards, is about 10 to 15 frames max, which is mental for the extra £20. I definitely think for the price, this is also one of the best graphics cards you can get on the market. There are some really good Radeon graphics cards, which I almost did go for, and I almost went for the RX 590 Fatboy, I think it's called. But just looking at reviews, I know the NVIDIA graphics cards are really solid, and I've also looked at some benchmark videos, and this one for the price seems to be the best. Now the motherboard that we're going to be going for is the MSI B450 Gaming Plus Max motherboard. It has the correct amount of slots for everything that we need, including the M.2, and also it supports the series of Ryzen processors that we are going to be going for. For the RAM, we are going to be doubling our previous amount. So at the minute I have 8GB in my current one, and we are going to be upgrading to 16GB of Corsair Vengeance. Now this is DDR4 and it's 3200 megahertz, and it should be a lot quicker than my old RAM, as that's DDR3 and the megahertz is quite a lot lower. Now for the hard drive, we are going to be going with the Western Digital Blue 1TB hard drive, and this is what I'm going to be installing most of my games on, and also it's going to be the hard drive that I'm storing my videos on. The majority of the programs will be going onto the SSD, but I will be talking about that in a second. So obviously this hard drive is a terabyte and my current one is a terabyte, and I still haven't filled up my current hard drive, so I know this is going to be plenty enough, especially coupling it with the M.2 SSD. So for the SSD, we are going to be going with the Western Digital Green 240GB M.2. Now this has really good reviews on Amazon, and for the price it's £34, you can't really go wrong. This will have just enough storage to install my operating system on and also some programs. Now the speeds of this SSD are quite similar to just standard SSDs rather than M.2, but the only difference with this is obviously it won't take up a slot in the hard drive bay, and this slots straight into the motherboard. So obviously we are going to be space effective as well with this build, and yeah, this will just clean up the build overall. For the power supply, we are going to be going with the Corsair VS650, and this is a 650 watt power supply, and it is 80 plus white rated. Now I know this is probably on the bottom end of the rating spectrum, but I'm not looking obviously to go all out with this build. I am within a budget of around £700. I will bring the total cost of this build up at the end, but yeah, this will obviously power everything fine, and we'll also have a little bit of power left over should we need it. For the case, we are going to be going with the KOLINK Stronghold E-ATX mid-tower case. Now this has room for 6 120mm fans. Now I think I'm only going to be having 5 in total, because 2 come with the case, and then I'm going to be buying a further 3. To be honest, I've never really been interested in a water-cooled PC. Now obviously if I had the money, this would be a different case, as I probably would buy a pre-built water-cooled PC, but seeing as we are working on a budget, the best thing for me is to build a PC and use fans. So this case that we're going to be using is only £38 on Currys. Now Currys has been really useful for sourcing parts, as their prices match Amazon quite well, and also it has quite a few reviews for these different parts. So the case has 25 customer reviews, most of which are 4 and 5 star, and I've not seen any bad reviews so far. The only slightly bad one I've seen is someone saying that there isn't enough room for hard drives if you have multiple hard drives, but seeing as we only have one, this shouldn't be an issue. Now, as you can probably tell so far from this build, I am not a big fan of all of the RGB lighting, excuse the pun, but for this build we are going to be going with the Corsair AF120 120mm fans. Now these fans are backlit, I think they have a few white LEDs on them. Now this should light up my case enough as to where I can see the parts, and at the same time it won't be too bright. These fans have really good reviews, and they should pair up really well with the 2 120mm fans that already come with the case. Now the grand total of this PC build is £716, which isn't a lot at all, and considering the new series of consoles are £500, I think this compares really well. Now this isn't a comparison between PC and console, but for the price you definitely get a lot out of your money from building a PC, as you can play games and do all of your everyday tasks, whereas on a console you can only really play games. So like I said, this is really good value for money. Now guys, I hope you enjoyed this future PC build. I am very excited to build this PC, and if you did like this video, make sure you leave a like and let me know in the comments down below what you think of these specs. Now if you have made it this far, I want to thank you guys for your time, and I also want to remind anyone new to this channel to hit that subscribe button and tap that bell icon for any future uploads. I will be uploading the finished build, so make sure you check that out, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.